Hello, my name is Elise Garvey, and this is a brief summary of our audit of Metro Transit's capital project planning and delivery, which assessed how Metro Transit builds, maintains, and improves capital assets such as bus bases, charging infrastructure, and shelters, which are essential components of providing transit service and reaching county goals like full bus electrification by 2035. There are 4 key takeaways from this audit. While Metro Transit has grown its capital program, it has still not managed to meet its spending plans, which means it is not building or improving capital assets that it believes it needs to support its operations and reach its goals. Available data indicates that this is primarily due to projects being behind schedule. Leadership has started new, promising initiatives that improve capital project planning and delivery. However, gaps remain in their practices, including fully implementing continuous improvement, a lack of reliable data, and insufficient two-way communication, which, if addressed, would aid in improving performance. First, I'll provide a high-level overview and recommendations associated with these key takeaways, and then in the second half of the presentation, I will dive deeper into some specific practices. As mentioned with key takeaway number 1, Metro Transit spending hasn't kept track with its biennial forecasts. This blue line shows Metro Transit's historic spending plans from the past 3 biennia for fixed asset capital projects. The dashed blue line shows that Metro Transit forecasts its spending to continue to increase, ending with $768 million of planned spending in the 27-28 biennium on capital projects. However, Metro Transit has not been able to meet its spending forecasts. This orange line shows Metro Transit's actual spending over the past 3 biennia. Metro Transit has fallen short of its project spending on capital projects by at least 33% in each of these biennia. While underspending might seem like a potential positive, available data indicates this gap is due to projects being behind schedule, rather than under budget, meaning that Metro Transit hasn't been able to build or improve the assets it needs to support operations and meet strategic goals in a timely way. We reviewed all of Metro Transit's systems of record to see how projects were performing on cost and schedule, and identify causes of performance issues. We found that while Metro's data was not reliable enough to perform detailed analysis, all systems of record showed that capital projects were behind schedule, with projects taking an average of 54 to 95% longer than estimated at baseline, depending on the system reviewed. If Metro Transit doesn't have reliable data on project performance, it will find it challenging to find ways to identify and address issues causing delays. Limitations with data include missing data, inconsistent data, and a lack of adherence to county baselining standards. As I mentioned earlier, over the past few years, Metro Transit has been taking positive steps through several new initiatives which could help improve oversight and delivery of capital projects. However, our findings indicate that Metro needs to put processes in place to ensure it finishes these initiatives, make sure they're working, and continues to address gaps in foundational elements of management, including incomplete continuous improvement efforts. For example, while Metro Transit staff and management were aware of many of the issues raised in the audit, there often wasn't a responsible party assigned for tracking implementation of improvements. As a result, known issues persist, and the positive benefit of identified improvements aren't being realized. We also found there were gaps in communication within Metro, including a lack of sufficient opportunity for staff to provide feedback to leadership and work groups, which could be reducing the effectiveness of new initiatives by impacting staff engagement and contributing to conflict between groups. And finally, we found there was a lack of reliable performance data and project records, which would help measure progress and identify project performance issues division-wide and actions to address them. In the report, we make several recommendations addressing the foundational gaps in Metro Transit's continuous improvement efforts, including ensuring accountability for continuous improvement, creating opportunity for staff to ask questions and provide feedback to leadership, and improving electronic data completeness and reliability, which, if implemented, could improve Metro's ability to deliver capital projects. This is the graph I talked about earlier that shows the gap between planned and actual spending, and I noted that this gap is due to projects being behind schedule rather than under budget. Another component to this is how Metro Transit came to the estimates it did for that blue line, which is the planned amount included in its Capital Improvement Program, or CIP, for fixed assets. We found that these estimates in Metro Transit's past CIPs were based on need rather than staff capacity and ability to deliver. Now, Metro Transit did initiate an effort to assess staff capacity and balance the 23-24 CIP with those estimates, taking a step toward aligning its CIP needs with its ability to deliver. However, these estimates have not yet been assessed, and some key staff, like project managers, were not consulted on the estimates of their workload. While Metro Transit included an appropriation for 20 additional staff in the 23-24 budget to help deliver its CIP, management reported this request was lower than its estimate of actual staffing needs, but likely more realistic given hiring challenges. Ultimately, what all of this means is that the 23-24 CIP was not aligned with the determined staff capacity estimates, and the previous trends we discussed of Metro Transit not being able to complete its CIP might continue moving forward. If you take estimation practices a step lower to project level estimation, we found that Metro Transit lacks documented estimation standards for projects. This means that resulting cost and schedule estimates used during budget and CIP preparation are not reliably comparable with one another and can be inaccurate. Capital Division staff consistently reported to us concerns about gaps in estimation practices, like a lack of historic project information that make it difficult for the agency to accurately forecast project budgets and schedules, and that initial project schedules tend to be too optimistic. In the report, we make several recommendations around improving cost and schedule estimation, including testing its staff capacity assumptions used in the development of the most recent CIP and aligning future CIPs with staff capacity. We also recommend developing standards for cost and schedule estimations and supporting staff in implementing those standards through steps like compiling historic performance data to use in future estimates. Implementing these recommendations will help Metro Transit and its staff ensure its cost and schedule estimates are more realistic, and therefore the department, decision makers, and the public can have a more accurate picture of when Metro can complete important facilities and improvements to support its work and goals, like electrification. Over the previous few slides, we discussed estimation. However, we also looked at practices for project delivery. While we have a number of findings and recommendations related to delivery, I will only cover two areas here as examples of the types of issues we identified, but you can find the rest in the report. We mentioned earlier that Metro Transit has been implementing a number of promising steps to improve its capital project management, and these include regular meetings and decision-making steps between management and project teams. We found that these practices have allowed management to improve its monitoring and oversight of projects. However, staff reported that these steps do not yet help them solve issues that they have identified that can lead to problems like schedule delays. We observed that some managers were starting to create follow-up meetings with supervisors to address issues that had been raised. But this is not yet an established practice, and there was not an agreed-upon structure to ensure accountability for follow-through, such as action item tracking or communication with the project manager. We also found that while Metro has developed guidance for project decision-making and escalation, the framework has gaps, such as insufficient opportunities for staff to work with leadership on problem solving. Staff reported to us that challenges such as disagreements about project scope resurface over the course of a project, forcing them to take time to revisit issues or make changes. One project manager reported difficulty in getting staff from different parts of Metro Transit to work together, resulting in siloed decision-making that can be difficult to resolve. Both scenarios can result in further project delays and can have negative effects on Metro Transit's processes and employee culture. So to help ensure Metro Transit's recent initiatives to improve delivery are successful and can help address issues that may be causing delays, we make recommendations to implement a system to ensure management follows up on issues it identifies with its project teams and ensures staff understand guidance on decision-making and escalation. So to conclude, there are 4 key takeaways from this audit. While Metro Transit has grown its capital program, it has not managed to meet its spending plans, which means it is not building or improving capital assets that it believes it needs to support its operations and reach its goals. Available data indicates that this is primarily due to projects being behind schedule. Leadership has started new, promising initiatives to improve capital project planning and delivery. However, gaps remain in their practices, including fully implementing continuous improvement, a lack of reliable data, and insufficient two-way communication, which, if addressed, would aid in improving estimation and delivery. We would like to thank Metro Transit for its cooperation and work on this audit. The full report is available online. Thank you.